Hello, we are still we are now in September. So book, let's see, 156 is Between Two Kingdoms by Suleika Juad, and I may not have her last name exactly right. So this was actually for a book club that I read this book. And the title comes from a quote from, I think, Susan Sontag, which she says there's two kingdoms, the kingdom of the well and the kingdom of the sick. So this is a memoir, and the first half is basically she's, I guess, in the kingdom of the sick. She has cancer. She's very young, 23, and it really describes, how hard it is to have treatment for an aggressive cancer. And it's hard to read. It's certainly not an easy book to read. The second half is her, I guess, time entering the kingdom of the well, where she's recovering, she's in remission, and she decides to take a cross-country trip to meet with people who wrote her letters when she was sick. And, they have kind of a shared experience. And again, going into that is not easy for a cancer survivor. So the book was very good. I ended up giving it a 4. It's not an easy book to read, but it is a well-written book. 157 was an audiobook, Fruit of the Dead by Rachel Lyon. This is a retelling of the story of Persephone. So basically, Corey, who is Persephone, is a summer camp counselor. She's has bonded with these two children whose father, Roland, who's Hades, hires her to be the nanny. And he takes her to his island, where she doesn't have cell service. She can't contact her mom. And it just, it's an interesting take of the story. Roland is definitely kind of a creepy guy. And, I was angry many times about why is he doing this? Why is she accepting this? Why is her mother accepting this? So it's an interesting take on the story. I gave it a 3.5-ish, something in that area. It was an interesting retelling. Parts of it there were some holes, but it does bring it to a modern take of the story. 158, I decided to read Shogun by James Clavell because I want to see the miniseries. This is a beast of a book. It's over 1,100 pages. The story was good. It definitely kept me engaged. It's the story of Blackthorn, who is an Englishman on a Dutch warship, who basically becomes shipwrecked in Japan with part of his crew. And it kind of follows his life there, from a prisoner to somebody that is seen as a valuable kind of asset by one of the feudal warlords there, to him becoming a samurai and a better advisor, essentially, to this warlord. So there's lots of kind of inner fighting between the different clans in Japan. And, it's an interesting take on, culture, because Blackthorn, being European, just viewed the Japanese as barbarians. And, of course, the Japanese viewed him as a barbarian. And you kind of see that the Japanese were right. They have a much better view on cleanliness, a much better view on medicine. They have some quirkiness around the formality of how they interact with each other, but there's a lot of subtlety in that interaction. Although people appear to be very, very respectful and the bowing and whatever, there's a lot of backstabbing. There, women have power, though. You on the surface it looks like they don't have power, but they do have power. The book could have been shorter. There was a lot of chapters I would have eliminated. And the ending was semi-satisfying. It seems like there might be a sequel. I don't know. It was just okay for me. I ended up giving it, 3.5, 3.75. It was good, but it's a long book, so you have to know what you're getting into.